The neon haze of Station Zyra. 9 flickered across the rain-slick streets, casting fractured reflections on the slick metal tiles below. Ethan Voss adjusted the collar of his worn flight jacket, the hum of distant starship engines vibrating through the platform beneath his boots. The station's marketplace sprawled endlessly, a labyrinth of stalls and platforms where alien species bartered, shouted, and glimmered on a pulse of hollow ads promising everything from exotic weaponry to rare companions. The air smelled sharp with ozone, fried spice, and the tang of 100 alien metabolisms. Ethan's eyes flicked to a narrow corridor tucked between 2 towering stalls of iridescent fabrics. Faint whimpers threaded through the chatter of the crowd. He followed the sound and froze. There, in a pen of glowing restraints, crouched a girl. No, an alien girl, her skin a shifting shimmer of violet and silver. Chains, cold and cruel, bit into her wrists and ankles. Her large, luminous eyes locked onto his, and her voice, hesitant but trembling with defiance, cut through the marketplace din. Can you buy me?" she whispered, each word strained with humiliation. "Take me as you're your slave?" Ethan's gut twisted. "Slave?" he echoed, his voice rough, but not with judgment. He crouched to meet her gaze. "Why would you ask that?" She swallowed hard, her tail twitching anxiously. "Because I have nowhere else to go. My people, they won't forgive me if I return." Her words carried the weight of exile, desperation, and a strange pride that humans rarely understood. She wasn't pleading like an animal. She was negotiating like a survivor, her spirit threaded through every measured word. The dealer, a 4-armed insectoid with eyes like burnished copper, stepped forward. "She is rare," he hissed, "highly intelligent, worth more than a dozen standard slaves. Choose wisely, human." Ethan's fingers brushed the cold chain, feeling the faint pulse of Lyria's suppressed energy through the metal. Despite the hum of hovering droids and the chatter of alien tongues, a quiet tension hummed between them. He recognized something familiar in her courage, the same stubbornness, the same ingenuity that kept humans alive across countless worlds. He leaned back, weighing the risk. "I don't usually get involved in this kind of trade," he said, voice low, careful. "But maybe you're not asking for a master. Maybe you're asking for a partner in survival." Lyria blinked, a flicker of hope softening her rigid posture. I can be useful," she whispered. "I can help. I know things. I can—" "Enough," Ethan said, cutting in, his hand firmly pressing against the chain latch. Sparks of neon reflected in his eyes. "I'll take you, but not as a slave." He gestured toward the exit. "You're coming with me, alive and free." Her eyes widened, a mixture of disbelief and relief, and for the first time, her tail uncoiled in cautious trust. The marketplace seemed to blur, neon lights smearing into streaks as they moved toward the docking bay. The hum of engines grew louder, mingling with the beat of Ethan's heart. And somewhere between fear and hope, the beginning of a fragile alliance, and something more, took its first breath. The hum of Ethan's starship, the Aurora's edge, thrummed beneath their feet, a low vibration that seemed to synchronize with Lyria's quickened heartbeat. The cabin glowed softly with holographic panels, casting pale blue light across the narrow corridors and metallic surfaces. Outside the viewports, the stars stretched into glittering streaks as the ship pierced hyperspace, leaving the neon chaos of Zyra 9 far behind. Lyria sat cross-legged on the cold metal floor, her violet and silver skin shimmering faintly in the cabin light. She had been silent for most of the trip, eyes wide and alert, tracing the contours of Ethan's ship as though memorizing every detail. Humans had a way of surviving in chaos that alien species rarely grasped. She realized the precision in their movements, the way they adapted to danger and uncertainty without hesitation. Ethan leaned against a control console, arms crossed, studying her with quiet curiosity. "You're not like the others I've seen," he said carefully. "Most aliens in the markets, they accept their chains. You," his voice faltered, "you ask to be bought. You want to serve, but not to be broken. That's unusual." Her ears twitched slightly, subtle signals of her nervousness. I survived because I had to. My people, my clan, they were enslaved by the Shar Collective. They saw me as weak, a failure." She swallowed, her tail brushing the edge of the console. "I didn't want pity. I wanted someone who could see that I could be trusted, that I could be useful." Ethan studied her in silence, noting the quiet strength beneath the trembling words. Humans had this stubbornness, this capacity to see value in unexpected places, and he sensed a faint kinship in the alien spirit. He knelt down to meet her gaze, letting the glow from the console play across his features. "You're not weak. You're clever. And I'll admit, humans can appreciate that kind of skill." For the first time, Lyria allowed herself a small, almost imperceptible smile. "Humans, you are strange," she said, her voice soft. "So many rules, yet you survive where others fail. You see possibilities where my people see only danger." The Aurora's edge hummed louder as it entered a calm hyperspace tunnel, the stars outside stretching into ribbons of light. Ethan's hands hovered over the controls, but his attention lingered on Lyria. "You'll learn quickly," he said, almost to himself. "Humans aren't the strongest. We aren't the fastest. But we adapt, we survive, and we protect those who matter." A low vibration ran through the deck plates as Lyria tested her chains, now loosened but still symbolic of her past. I think I understand," she murmured, her voice firmer now. "You see what others overlook. That is what makes humans special." They fell into a quiet rhythm, shared space, mutual vigilance, and tentative trust. The stars outside streaked by endlessly, but inside the ship, time seemed suspended. Between them, an unspoken bond began to form, forged not in chains, but in understanding and a quiet courage of survival. Somewhere between fear and hope, the fragile beginnings of a partnership, and something more, sparked against the hum of the engines and the endless void of space. The city of Zalar sprawled below them like a living organism, a labyrinth of glass, steel, and bioluminescent vines that pulsed with alien life. Ethan's ship hovered just above the docking spires, the hum of the engines mingling with the cacophony of 1,000 alien voices, clanging machinery and distant plasma blasts. The marketplace below wasn't a market at all. It was a hive, thrumming with danger and intrigue. Here, power was measured not in currency, but in information, influence, and fear. "Keep your head down," Ethan muttered, adjusting his jacket and sliding a blaster into his holster. His eyes scanned the chaotic streets, neon signs and incomprehensible glyphs flickering overhead. Lyria moved beside him, tail coiled like a spring, ears twitching at every sound. Her violet and silver skin reflected the shifting colors of the city, marking her as distinctly out of place, but also uniquely human-like in her adaptability. "You're nervous," Ethan noted, his voice low, "or pretending you're not. I can't tell which." Lyria's eyes narrowed. "I am cautious. Humans act recklessly sometimes. I am not so foolish." She stepped lightly across a grated walkway, the hum of anti-grav lifts vibrating through the metal. "This city, it smells of ambition and deceit. I detect multiple factions watching us already." Ethan smirked. "Good eye. That's exactly why humans survive where others fail. We notice patterns. We improvise." A sudden flash of motion, a six-limbed mercenary darting between neon-lit stalls, made Ethan's instinct snap. "Down!" He shoved Lyria to the side as plasma bolts streaked past, sizzling against the metal walkway. She twisted in midair, her limbs flexible in a way humans weren't, and landed silently beside him. "You fight differently than your people," Ethan observed, scanning the narrow alleyways for threats. "Fast, precise, adaptive. They underestimate humans," Lyria said, eyes flicking to a hovering surveillance drone. "You survive where others will fall. You see weaknesses and you exploit them. That is special." The two sprinted down the twisting corridors of Zolaris, dodging drones, scanning for cover, and slipping through neon-lit doorways into shadows of abandoned megastructures. Ethan used every trick he knew: flashing lights to blind, magnetized boots to leap along walls, and improvising traps from discarded tech. Lyria mirrored him, her alien physiology giving her an almost supernatural agility, but she learned quickly from his ingenuity, adapting alien reflexes to human strategy. Finally, they reached a high observation deck. The city sprawled like a glittering maze beneath them. Ethan exhaled, fingers resting on the edge of the railing. "We made it for now, but the city doesn't forgive mistakes." Lyria studied him, eyes softening. "You humans, even when cornered, you find a way. You inspire trust. I did not know this about your species. Perhaps I could learn much from you." The hum of engines, the pulse of neon, and the distant sirens of a city alive with danger surrounded them. But for a brief moment, the chaos faded. Between human ingenuity and alien skill, a fragile partnership had been forged, one capable of surviving the shadows of Zolaris and the darker forces that would soon come for them. The derelict space station hung like a corpse in the void, its metal hull scarred with burn marks and gouges from centuries of abandoned skirmishes. Ethan's ship slid silently through the docking bay, the low hum of engines echoing in the hollow corridors. Every metallic surface shimmered under the red warning lights that flickered sporadically, casting long shadows that twisted like specters. "They'll be here any second," Ethan muttered, scanning the darkened corridors. His fingers brushed against the hilt of his plasma blade, eyes flicking to the motion sensors that blinked erratically. Lyria crouched beside him, tail coiled, ears swiveling toward even the faintest vibration. She had changed in the weeks since Solaris, no longer trembling with fear, but radiating quiet precision, every movement deliberate. "They underestimate you," she said softly, eyes scanning the shadows. "They think humans are fragile. You defy expectations." Before Ethan could respond, a series of plasma bolts tore through the corridor ahead. Sparks sizzled against the metal walls as 6 bounty hunters, heavily armored and moving with calculated aggression, advanced toward them. "Go!" Ethan barked. They darted into a side corridor, boots clanging against grated flooring. The zero-gravity lift shuddered as a bolt from a hovering turret glanced off the ceiling, spraying molten metal. Lyria twisted midair with an agility that made Ethan's jaw tighten in admiration. She grabbed a loose conduit, swung herself around, and landed silently on the ground, plasma pistol in hand. "You humans fight differently," she called, her voice steady as she fired precise shots, each bolt disabling a turret or incapacitating a pursuer. Clever, unpredictable, adaptive. Ethan smirked, ducking under a swinging metal beam. "That's what keeps us alive." His fingers flew over the controls of a magnetic grapple, sending it spinning into the air to snag a pursuing hunter and yank him against the wall. Lyria mirrored him instinctively, using her tail and limbs to manipulate the environment in ways humans couldn't, yet following his lead. The battle raged through the station's core, sparks flying and alarms screaming. Sweat and the tang of ozone filled the air. Ethan and Lyria moved as one, their trust in each other cemented through every maneuver. Each time one faltered, the other compensated, and slowly the tide turned. Finally, the last hunter fell, sliding to the ground with a hiss of compressed armor venting. Ethan exhaled, muscles trembling, and looked at Lyria. Her breathing was steady, her eyes glowing faintly in the red light. "You fought well," he said, voice rough but sincere. "Not just with skill, but with loyalty." Lyria stepped closer. Tail brushed his arm lightly. "I trust you. I choose to be with you, not because I must, but because you see what others overlook. That is rare." Ethan's chest tightened at the admission. The hum of the station seemed to soften, the alarms fading into the background as they stood among the wreckage. In the void of the derelict station, between sparks, shadows, and the distant hum of engines, a new bond had been forged, one tempered in fire, trust, and a shared understanding that humans had a spark that could inspire even the most extraordinary alien beings. The command deck of the Shard Collective Outpost glimmered with cold, alien precision, the walls alive with circuits and holographic readouts. Ethan and Lyria crouched behind a series of energy pylons, the hum of the station's core resonating through the floor. Outside the viewport, the galaxy stretched in endless darkness, dotted with distant stars, silent witnesses to the moral storm about to unfold. A transmission flickered to life, projecting the massive, serpentine form of Lord KRYH, a Shard noble whose reputation for cruelty eclipsed entire star systems. His multi-limbed silhouette loomed over the hologram table. "Hand her over," he hissed, each word a razor threat. "In exchange, I grant you wealth, influence, and power beyond your primitive human imagination." Ethan's jaw tightened. Lyria's chains, long gone, now a memory, glimmered faintly in her eyes, reminders of what he had vowed to protect. She whispered beside him, tail twitching nervously. "He assumes that humans value only power and gain. He underestimates what makes you special." Ethan's gaze hardened, fingers brushing the controls of his blaster. "We humans," he muttered, "we survive by seeing possibilities no one else does. We don't trade our people for comfort or wealth. That's why we endure." The station groaned as patrol drones swept past, their glowing sensors searching for them. Lyria crouched low, her alien senses scanning the corridors. "We can't fight them head-on," she said. "But we can trick them. Humans think differently. We can use that." Ethan's mind raced, assembling a plan from fragment of engineering schematics, alien schematics, and sheer intuition. "I'll rig the station's magnetic stabilizers to create a feedback loop. It'll disable their defenses long enough for us to free the captured aliens and escape. You, stay with me and trust my timing." They moved swiftly through the metallic corridors, the hiss of released air and the tang of ionized metal filling their nostrils. Lyria mirrored every move Ethan made, her alien agility compensating for gaps in his plan. Drones slammed into walls as magnetic pulses threw them off balance. Holographic projectors flickered wildly, confusing the Shard soldiers. In the central chamber, the captured aliens, species that had long suffered under the Shard, watched in awe as humans and Lyria dismantled their captors' control. Sparks flew, alarms blared, and the hum of engines roared in tandem with the pulse of hope surging through the chamber. When the dust settled, Ethan and Lyria stood together, the freed aliens rallying behind them. Lyria's eyes glistened. You humans are extraordinary, not because of strength or numbers, but because you see what others cannot. You see the heart." Ethan placed a hand on her shoulder, feeling the tremor of relief and exhilaration. "And you," he said, voice steady, "you're extraordinary for trusting us, not as masters, but as equals. That's what freedom is worth." Outside, the stars stretched endlessly, a canvas for those brave enough to claim it. Together, human ingenuity and alien skill had reshaped the outcome, proving once again that humanity's stubborn courage, empathy, and adaptability were forces a galaxy could never ignore. The Aurora's edge cut silently through the void, its engines humming a gentle, reassuring rhythm as hyperspace streaked stars into brilliant ribbons of light. Ethan leaned against the viewport, watching the swirling colors, while Lyria stood beside him, tail curling loosely in quiet contentment. The ship smelled faintly of ozone, recycled air, and the metallic tang of human engineering, a scent that had come to feel like home. For the first time in weeks, there were no alarms, no enemies lurking in shadowed corridors. The galaxy stretched out before them, endless and uncharted, filled with planets, civilizations, and dangerous humans that survive and adapt to time and again. Lyria's eyes reflected the streaking light of hyperspace, a mix of wonder and something deeper, gratitude, trust, and perhaps a budding affection she hadn't expected to feel. "You humans," she murmured, her voice soft, almost hesitant. "Even in the void, you find a way to make it feel alive. Your species, you adapt. You endure. You care in ways my people do not understand." Ethan glanced at her, a small smile tugging at his lips. "We're stubborn, I guess. You survive by noticing the things others ignore, by protecting what matters. That stubbornness has kept humans alive longer than most species would imagine." He paused, letting the hum of the engines fill the silence. "And sometimes," he added quietly, "it helps us find allies or friends or something more." Lyria tilted her head, studying him with those luminous violet and silver eyes. I have learned much from you, not just about survival, but about trust, about freedom. I chose to come with you, not because I am bound, but because I want to be." Ethan's chest tightened. "That's the human way," he said, almost to himself. "We don't demand loyalty, we inspire it. We don't own, we protect. That makes all the difference." The ship drifted past a nebula, clouds of crimson and gold swirling in cosmic currents. Lyria reached out, letting her fingers brush the cool surface of the viewport. "And what about the future? There are so many stars, so many worlds. What will we do?" Ethan's hand hovered near hers, not touching but close enough to signal connection. "We explore. We learn. We help those who need it. And we survive. That's what humans are good at. And now we do it together." A quiet smile passed between them, a mixture of relief, hope, and something unspoken yet profound. The galaxy outside was vast, dangerous, and endlessly beautiful. But for the first time, Ethan and Lyria faced it as equals, partners, and perhaps something closer than friends. The hum of the Aurora's edge was steady now, a heartbeat in the quiet of space. Stars streaked past, distant suns promising new adventures, unknown dangers, and endless possibilities. And as the ship glided further into the cosmos, both human and alien understood a singular truth. Freedom was not given, it was earned, and humanity's stubborn ingenuity, courage, and capacity for trust made them exceptional, capable of changing the fate of entire worlds. Together, they crossed the threshold of the unknown, their chain behind them, and their future stretching across the stars. The Aurora's edge drifted into orbit above a serene, uncharted world, its engines humming softly, a comforting pulse beneath their feet. Through the viewport, alien constellations shimmered in silent reverence, casting iridescent reflections across the sleek interior of the ship. Below, the planet's surface glowed with neon blue flora, strange and luminescent, swaying gently in a wind that seemed almost alive. The faint pulse of artificial gravity hummed through the deck, grounding them in a universe that had tested every ounce of courage, wit, and trust they possessed. Ethan stood beside Lyria, her violet and silver skin glowing in the reflection of distant starlight. For weeks, they had fought through shadows, betrayal, and chaos. They had survived where others would have failed. Now, at last, there was quiet. She reached out, brushing her fingers against his hand, a touch that carried unspoken gratitude and the fragile weight of hope. "I chose to come with you," she said, voice soft but certain, "because you see what others cannot." Ethan's gaze held hers, warmth and awe in equal measure. "And I chose you," he replied, "because you taught me that courage isn't just survival, it's trust and it's love." A single comet streaked across the horizon, its tail painting a bridge of light over the neon forest below. They stood together in silence, letting the hum of the ship and the distant alien voices mingle with the unspoken bond that had carried them across the stars. In that moment, human stubbornness, ingenuity, and compassion had not only saved them, they had reshaped their corner of the galaxy. The chains of the past were gone, but the spark of humanity lingered between them, bright, unyielding, and infinite,